Welcome back, warriors of purpose. Or if you're new here, welcome to the fight for your best self. Today we're diving deep into what it means to rise as a man in a world that's tearing down the very idea of masculinity. Not the old stereotypes, but a forged, unshakable version that commands respect through action and grit. We're breaking down 9 principles to redefine strength, purpose, and power. Ideas that'll push you to confront your limits and build something extraordinary. If you're ready to level up, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and ring the bell, because this is a journey you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Section 1. Redefining strength in a shifting world. The concept of masculinity has become a battleground, relentlessly dissected and often discarded in today's cultural landscape. What was once a pillar of identity is now frequently cast as an outdated relic, accused of perpetuating harm rather than embodying honor. Yet, amid this storm of critique, there lies an opportunity, not to cling to the past, but to forge a new understanding of what it means to stand tall as a man. This isn't about rejecting change, it's about reclaiming a vision of manhood that commands reverence through resilience, wisdom, and purpose. Too often, the modern narrative paints masculine traits as inherently flawed, equating strength with oppression or stoicism with emotional vacancy. But this shallow lens misses the deeper truth. True strength isn't about domination, it's about mastery over oneself. History's greatest figures, from Marcus Aurelius to Nelson Mandela, didn't bend the world to their will through brute force. They shaped it through disciplined resolve and an unwavering commitment to something greater. These men didn't shy away from their masculine core, they refined it into a tool for progress. The erosion of traditional ideals doesn't mean masculinity itself is obsolete. It means we're tasked with redefining it for an age that demands both power and introspection. The path forward isn't lined with apologies for being a man, but with a bold reimagining of what that identity can achieve. This is about stripping away the noise, societal guilt, fleeting trends, and empty stereotypes, to uncover a framework that inspires not just men, but everyone who values integrity and growth. Here begins a journey into the principles that elevate manhood beyond caricature or criticism. These aren't rules to enforce rigidity, but guideposts to cultivate a presence that resonates with authenticity and earns respect through action. Consider this an invitation to step into discomfort, to wrestle with the raw materials of your potential, and to build something enduring. As basketball legend Michael Jordan once said, "I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." A testament to the grit that defines true masculinity. Section 2. Seize the helm of your existence. To be a man of substance is to claim full ownership of your life's course, steering it with intention rather than drifting on the currents of circumstance. This begins with a refusal to point fingers at society, at family, at fate, for the struggles that define your story. High performers like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson embody this ethos, often reflecting, "I'm not a victim of my past, I'm a product of my decisions." To embrace this principle is to see every setback, every misstep, every craving as a mirror reflecting your choices, and to resolve to shape what you see. Blaming others is a seductive escape, a way to dodge the weight of accountability. Yet, it's a hollow refuge that robs you of agency. Whether it's a faltering career, a fractured relationship, or the grip of a vice, the moment you shift responsibility outward, you surrender the power to change. Masculinity at its core rejects this passivity. It demands that you stand in the arena of your life, acknowledging the consequences of your actions, good or ill, as the raw material for growth. Taking the reins requires a brutal honesty that few are willing to face. It means staring down your failures, from the late nights lost to mindless scrolling, to the promises you've broken to yourself, and saying, "This is mine to fix." It's not about self-flagellation, but about clarity, recognizing that every decision carries a ripple, and that calculated moves trump reckless reactions. When you own your path, you transform chaos into order, weakness into resolve. This ownership isn't a burden, it's liberation. It's the difference between a man who drifts through life, tethered to excuses, and one who charts his destiny with purpose. Consider the words of Viktor Frankl, a survivor of unimaginable hardship. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. To take responsibility is to wield that freedom, crafting a life not dictated by external forces, but forged by your own hand. Section 3. Confront decay and forge discipline. The call to rise above degeneration is a natural extension of mastering self-control, a fierce stand against the undertow of a culture that often celebrates the shallow and the fleeting. Society bombards us with siren songs of instant gratification, peddling behaviors that erode rather than elevate. Strong men don't just resist these traps, they uproot them, choosing instead to channel their energy into pursuits that build rather than break. As the philosopher Seneca warned, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, a reminder that the allure of vice often promises more than it delivers. Picture the hours squandered on hollow distractions, the endless chase of fleeting pleasures, the mental fog of overstimulation, the drain of resources on pursuits that leave you emptier than before. Whether it's the pull of casual encounters, the numbing scroll through explicit content, or the obsession with external validation, these are chains masquerading as freedom. High achievers like Kobe Bryant understood this, famously sacrificing sleep and leisure to hone his craft, declaring, "I don't have time to waste." What could you reclaim if you severed those ties? Eliminating temptation isn't about denial for its own sake. It's about reclaiming sovereignty over your focus and vitality. Take the man who lingers in the orbit of someone toxic, knowing full well she saps his clarity, yet he persists, trading his potential for a fleeting high. That's not strength. It's surrender dressed as desire. This isn't a plea for asceticism or a rejection of intimacy, but a demand for discernment. Your energy, sexual, mental, physical, is a currency. Spend it on what compounds your worth, not what depletes it. To attack degeneration is to wage war on mediocrity within yourself. It's a deliberate act of pruning, cutting away what stifles growth to make room for what thrives. This requires vigilance, identifying the triggers, the habits, the people that pull you towards stagnation, and excising them with surgical precision. The reward is a life unburdened by regret, where your power isn't frittered away on the trivial but invested in the monumental. In the words of Theodore Roosevelt, do what you can with what you have where you are, and do it free from the shadows of distraction. Section 4. Summon the fire of valor. Courage is the heartbeat of a man's soul, the force that lifts him from the ashes of doubt and propels him toward his highest self. Fear, its eternal adversary, gnaws at resolve, whispering retreat when the stakes rise, yet it's in facing this shadow that true character is forged. As the poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage. To live boldly is to meet fear daily, not as a foe to flee, but as a sparring partner to overcome. The modern age often cradles men in a cocoon of safety, a legacy of nurturing that shields rather than steals. From childhood, many are taught to avoid risk, to seek comfort over confrontation, whether it's the tremor of speaking before a crowd, the unease of approaching a stranger, or the weight of revisiting old wounds. But adulthood strips away that maternal buffer, thrusting you into a world where no one else can bear your burdens. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to stride through it, head high, even as your pulse quickens. This battle isn't confined to grand heroics, it's waged in the quiet moments of decision. In the boardroom, on the field, or in the stillness of self-reflection, fear will test you. The fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. Consider the resolve of figures like Winston Churchill, who amidst the darkest hours of war declared, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." To pierce through fear is to act, not recklessly but decisively, transforming trepidation into momentum. A man who freezes when fear strikes surrenders his potential to paralysis, but one who moves forward, even trembling, builds a spirit that cannot be broken. This is the essence of growth, to stand at the edge of what terrifies you, be it a daunting exam, a buried trauma, or a high-stakes gamble, and leap. Courage doesn't promise ease, it promises strength. It's the anvil on which resilience is hammered out, shaping a life not defined by what you avoid, but by what you dare to face. Section 5. Honor the way of the defender. Within every man lies the echo of a warrior, a primal call to understand the art of combat, not for violence but for mastery over himself and his world. This isn't about donning gloves as a prize fighter or stepping into the cage as a champion. It's about grasping the fundamentals of physical struggle. The sting of a jab landing square on your jaw in a sparring session, or the humbling pressure of a jiu-jitsu hold, teaches more than technique. It instills humility, sharpens awareness, and awakens a visceral connection to your own strength. As martial artist Bruce Lee once said, "Do not pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." The reality of our times underscores this need. We inhabit a landscape where reliance on external protectors, be it law enforcement or societal systems, can falter when chaos strikes. Those unversed in self-defense often find themselves prey in moments of crisis, from street altercations to sudden threats, not because they seek trouble but because they're unprepared for it. Learning to stand your ground isn't an invitation to aggression. It's a shield against vulnerability, a way to navigate danger with poise rather than panic. Training in the warrior's craft, whether through boxing, wrestling, or another discipline, does more than harden the body. It tempers the mind. Each bead of sweat, each controlled breath under pressure, builds a quiet confidence that radiates beyond the mat. It's preparation for the unpredictable, not just the rare clash with an assailant, but the daily skirmishes of life that demand resilience. UFC legend Georges St-Pierre captured this when he noted, "Fighting is not just physical. It's about overcoming your own limitations. This is about readiness, not recklessness." Yet the warrior's code carries a deeper ethic: restraint. Knowing how to fight doesn't mean seeking battles or escalating peril, like swinging back at a gunman in a robbery. Your life's value trumps any fleeting triumph. This path is about balance, cultivating the ability to protect yourself and those you cherish, while wielding that power with discernment. To respect this code is to honor a legacy of strength that serves, not destroys, a foundation that equips you to face the world undaunted. Section 6. Forge a body of iron. Physical strength is a cornerstone of a man's presence, a tangible testament to his capacity to meet the world's demands head-on. This isn't about sculpting a physique for vanity or chasing the bulk of a bodybuilder. It's about commanding the power to move your own weight with ease. A man should be a force of utility, ready to lift, push, or endure when life tests him. As the great strength coach Mark Rippetoe put it, strong people are harder to kill than weak people and more useful in general. This is about survival, not showmanship. Consider the stakes. Strength can tip the scales in moments of crisis. Picture a loved one, your mother, your child, crumpling in an emergency. Could you hoist them to safety, carry them through chaos to aid? Or imagine yourself pinned beneath rubble, caught in a stampede, or facing a threat. Your body's resilience could mean the difference between rising or falling. Physical power isn't just practical, it's a lifeline, a silent promise to yourself and others that you're equipped to protect and persevere. Training for this isn't a casual pursuit, it's a deliberate act of preparation. Lifting iron, hauling your frame through calisthenics, or pushing past fatigue builds more than muscle. It constructs a foundation of grit. Yes, there's an aesthetic reward, a chiseled form that signals discipline and vitality, long a hallmark of masculine identity, but the deeper gain is functional. You don't need to strut or boast. A strong body speaks for itself, radiating confidence that doesn't demand validation. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths," a truth etched in every rep. To neglect this is to gamble with your readiness. A weak frame buckles under pressure, while a fortified one stands firm. This isn't about chasing an ideal of perfection, but embracing a standard of capability. Train with purpose. Increase your load, master your movements, and steel yourself for the unforeseen. In a world that can turn brutal without warning, physical strength isn't just an asset, it's an obligation, a quiet vow to be the man others can lean on when the ground shakes. Section 7. Command the tides of your soul. To master your emotions is to wield one of the most potent tools of masculinity, a quiet dominion over the storms within. Every man feels the surge of anger, the drag of despair, or the spark of joy, but the measure of his strength lies in how he channels these currents. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True power isn't in suppressing what you feel, but in directing it with precision, ensuring it serves rather than enslaves you. Weakness reveals itself in those who let emotions steer the ship. Men who erupt in fury at a slight, slump into apathy at a setback, or unravel in chaos. These are the ones you see brawling at a bar over spilled beer, or crumbling under pressure, because they've never learned to pause. Such surrender doesn't just disrupt their own path, it ripples outward, unsettling those around them. Masculinity demands more. Not a cold detachment, but a steady hand on the helm, guiding feelings through the lens of reason. This mastery transforms emotion into an ally. Picture a tense exchange. Your pulse quickens, your chest tightens, yet you notice the other's subtle cues. A clenched jaw, a fleeting glance. Instead of snapping back, you respond with clarity, aligned with your principles. That's the edge of control, using what you feel to sharpen your insight, not cloud it. High performers like Tom Hanks, known for his composure, exemplify this. His calm, under fire in both craft and life, reflects a man who harnesses emotion, never hostage to it. The undisciplined falter here, their lack of restraint a glaring wound. A man who lashes out when drunk or wilts at criticism hasn't faced the mirror long enough to see his own reins. Mastery isn't effortless. It's forged through practice, through catching the flare of impulse and choosing instead to act deliberately. This isn't about denying your humanity. It's about elevating it, crafting a presence that inspires trust. To master your emotions is to stand as a rock amid the tide, unshaken, yet alive to the depths beneath. Section 8. Chart a course of meaning. A man without vision is adrift, a ship with no compass, surrendering his days to the pull of fleeting distractions. The truly formidable know their coordinates, where they stand today and the horizon they're bound for. Too many settle into a haze of aimlessness, clocking out of life to sink into virtual conquests, binge-watching marathons, or the dull comfort of junk food. As visionary Elon Musk once remarked, "I think it's important to have a future that's inspiring, a call to reject the autopilot of apathy and steer towards something greater." Consider the irony. Countless men pour hours into mastering digital realms, climbing leaderboards, hoarding trophies, yet their real-world ambitions languish. In games, they strategize, persevere, and triumph, but beyond the screen they drift without a map. Success isn't a stroke of fortune, it's the fruit of intent, sown by those who dare to define their purpose and chase it relentlessly. Icons like Steve Jobs didn't stumble into legacy. He declared, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do," and built his empire on that clarity. Vision is the antidote to stagnation. Without it, you risk calcifying in a life of quiet mediocrity, trapped in a job that pays the bills but starves the soul, grumbling about a fate you never shaped. There's no dishonor in humble work. A low-wage gig can be a noble starting block, a forge for character. But to linger there, complacent, is to betray your potential. That role should be a launch pad, not a landing strip, a temporary station en route to a destination you've dared to dream. Purpose demands action, a plan etched with precision, pursued with discipline. It's not enough to wish for more, you must see it, name it, and march toward it. This isn't about grandiosity for its own sake, but about crafting a life that matters, to you, to those you lift, to the mark you leave. A man with vision doesn't just endure time, he bends it to his will, turning days into stepping stones. To live this way is to claim your stake in the world, not as a passenger, but as a pioneer. Section 9. Pursue the pinnacle of skill. To seek mastery is to anchor yourself in the relentless pursuit of excellence, choosing a craft and honing it until it gleams with your imprint. Too many flit between passions like moths to fleeting flames, never lingering long enough to ignite true brilliance. Life offers a vast palette, physical prowess, artistic expression, intellectual depth, and within it lies the challenge to select a discipline and refine it. As the polymath Leonardo da Vinci exemplified, mastery isn't scattered ambition, it's the deep dive into a chosen realm, transforming potential into artistry. This isn't about chasing every skill that beckons. Sample broadly, wield a hammer, paint a canvas, unravel a theorem, but then root yourself in what stirs your core. Pick the one that calls you back, the one you'd wrestle with through frustration and fatigue, because mastery demands love as much as labor. Trends may tempt you toward what's hot, coding today, crypto tomorrow, but fleeting fads breed shallow gains. True greatness, as Michael Jordan showed in basketball, comes from obsession with a craft you'd bleed for, not one you borrow for clout. Take, for instance, the skill of language, say mastering English. It's a gateway to worlds, a tool that sharpens thought and opens doors, from poetry to global discourse. Imagine dedicating yourself to it, moving from stumbles to fluency, through a focused path like an online course, perhaps one crafted by autodidacts who've walked the journey themselves. It's not the only worthy pursuit, but it's a potent example, a skill that rewards persistence with power. Whatever you choose, the principle holds: mastery is the fruit of devotion, not dabbling. Perfection across every ideal is a mirage. You'll falter, stumble, and that's human. The sin isn't in failing, it's in settling for it, in shrugging at mediocrity instead of clawing toward better. These principles aren't shackles, but a compass, urging you to rise each time you fall. Reflect on where you're leaking vitality, perhaps in habits sapping your vigor as I've explored elsewhere, and redirect that energy. Step into your arena with ferocity. Be relentless, not resigned. Mastery isn't a destination, it's a hunt, and you're the tiger stalking it.